This is Larry Culpepper. I love college football so much that I went ahead and came up with the idea of the playoff for it. And the only way I can get ready for each and every Saturday of college football is by listening to the Championship Drive podcast.
Attention.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show.
Tuesdays with Cody are Dan's scheduled losses.
Dan Le Batard.
You were a prenatal bleep hole.
Stugatz.
I'm crazy.
Greg Cody.
Laren Yeager.
This is the real base.
Cody is still enduring, by the way. Cody, I cannot strip him of his confidence.
Oh, why would you? Ask me anything. You know, I'll either know it or bluff it. There's only two ways to go in life.
Base is pumping.
Porn has always had a stigma.
It's become too prevalent.
Yeah, I think Greg's right on that.
Yeah.
I do.
You used to have to earn your
right
porn.
about.
You used to have to earn your porn.
He's right. You used to have to earn porn.
Yeah, you'd have to go
Please
into
stop
an adult.
turning this into a back in my day, please.
Yes.
Please.
Stop longing for a time in porn that never existed.
Freedom of expression has its limits.
All right, I want it marked down in the place where we keep the records back there, right near the scary peeper. Write it down. Greg Cody has reached his freedom of expression limit.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugatz on ESPN Radio.
Believe you, I'm not racist!
Greg Cody of the Miami Herald in with us all show today. Dana White going to be on with us. Zoo expert Ron McGill going to be on with us. We've got a good, fun Monday night football game to talk about. I can't remember the last time that primetime football wasn't tie, Jags, Titans, tie. We've got a good, fun game to talk about. Russell Wilson does not look like Russell Wilson. Some of the stats around Russell Wilson, he can't move. He can't move, and once he can't move the way that you're used to seeing him move, he becomes a different quarterback.
People are going to say, if they're not typing it already, hey, he was 20 of 26, 2 touchdowns, ran for another. You're right. He's not the same Russell Wilson. I don't care what you saw last night. He's just not the same.
I mean, he went in the game with 5 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. They limit his passing in general, but his stat line looks unimpressive.
Tired legs. It's hard to move around when you got that old ball and chain wrapped around you.
He's having a lot of sex.
Yeah.
There it is. Somebody needed to say it.
Is that it?
He's having sex.
That's it?
Good point, Mike. It's something I hadn't considered. Put it on the scroll. Teammates wondering if Russell Wilson is having too much sex. I mean, if you've never had sex and all of a sudden you're having it all the time.
Yeah.
Are we buying that whole abstinence thing? Because I never bought that. I'm sorry.
Does sex make your legs tired? Put it on the poll, Guillermo, please, at Le Batard Show, because that might be a myth. I think the science on this is, I think you might actually be right, but it's fun to talk about.
You do have an 8-game sample, though. Yeah. So that's science.
Right.
I think sample is probably a discussion that we don't want. It's a word we don't want to be using around here on this particular discussion. But that game last night was fun. Mm-hmm. It was close. There was a lot of scoring. I don't know when this happened. At some point, it became cliche for people to say the phrase, something is a part of our DNA, our championship DNA. That became a cliche when you wouldn't have normally found the DNA, the acronym DNA, anywhere around your sports. And something that is now creeping into the lexicon that's beginning to bother me is the number of times that John Gruden said last night, defend every blade of grass, which is ridiculous on its surface. But especially so in a game where you're making Tyrod Taylor look like a quarterback that everybody wants to have. That the Seattle defense defends every blade of grass. Wait, you guys like that? You guys like it?
I loved it.
I love that, man.
I loved it.
Love that, man.
Yeah.
Especially, it's kind of weird, though, when it's on artificial turf.
Yeah. That's true. That's true.
But he cited specific examples of them defending every blade of grass and not giving up on plays.
That's inefficient. Why would you need to defend every blade of grass? Sometimes there are people nowhere near that blade of grass. Leave that blade of grass alone.
Yeah. Very time-consuming to defend every blade.
I mean, but it's creeping into the lexicon, and I think it's because people like that kind of stupidity, and we need to try to snuff it out. How do we make this now brown grass that doesn't grow? This needs to not grow. I need this grass to not be watered because I feel it becoming the new part of our DNA that everyone ended up taking.
Lexicon. I like that word, man. It's like paradigm, huh? And serpentine. Yeah.
Stugotz, I knew when Gruden said it yesterday. That Stu was defend every blade of grass.
Well, I mean, he's right. I mean,
what do you mean he's right?
Well, championship defenses, okay, they defend every blade of grass. They defend the entire field. If a guy is running in for what appears to be a touchdown and you're 20 yards behind him, you chase him down and you try to get him out or tackled before he scores a touchdown. That's not giving up on the play. That's defending every blade of grass. And that's what the Seahawks do.
He's right, man. You give them an inch, they'll take a mile, man. There you go. Yeah.
I mean,
so the offensive team is attacking every blade of grass.
Right. Well, right. Well, now somebody's going to take it on offense.
Yeah.
Go take every blade of grass from them.
Yeah, that's our grass.
Right.
That's my blade.
You would agree the Patriots attack every blade of grass, right?
Every blade. Even blades that aren't there, they're attacking it.
What's the team that smokes every blade of grass?
Which one doesn't?
I miss the Portland Trailblazers of Bonzi Wells and Rasheed Wallace. What's the team in sports these days that is going to come out and say that they smoke every blade of grass? Who's the highest team in America? Let's put this on the poll somewhere. Is Russell Wilson having too much sex? Is it affecting his game? I love attacking this because I always object to the idea of whenever someone's dating a starlet and all of a sudden his play suffers, you hear someone say of Aaron Rodgers, oh, that's Olivia Munn, whatever. But in this particular case, you've got the funny, I still think it's ridiculous, but funny. You have the ridiculous situation of the quarterback wasn't having sex.
So he said.
You think Russell Wilson was lying about this?
Hell yes.
I don't think Russell was, but I'm with it. Like, I think Tebow absolutely is lying. I do.
What are we doing?
There's no way you go to University of Florida and you're that kind of quarterback and that kind of legend with all those temptations and you don't cave in once.
All right,
it's impossible.
Guillermo, put it on the poll because I believe Tebow.
You do?
Because he's so religious. Was Tim Tebow lying about being a virgin? Or is he still a virgin? I don't know. He's probably still a virgin.
Probably still. Well, I don't know. He got a game-winning hit last night.
Yeah. Not buying it.
Big game.
Mm-hmm. He did. Had a walk-off hit.
Do you buy that Tim Tebow is a virgin? Because I buy it. He's so publicly religious that I'm willing to actually believe that.
Right, and he doesn't really have, like, girlfriends that he trots out there. Like, I feel like the story would have been out now. Like, the whole media in New York is so out to get it.
Nothing is private anymore, not even your privates. That somebody in this generation, especially a new generation of woman that takes pictures of Edelman in bed with her after the parade or James Harden in bed.
Right, like, that's a whopping bounty.
Yes. Somebody would bed Tebow and then tell everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's been bedded several times. Bedded and vetted. What do you think his nickname is? T-Bone. Can I say that on the air?
It's a little late to ask that question.
Sorry.
You felt like that was a good one? Like you had that?
I wasn't sure, and it just came out. Wasn't my fault.
Watch your phrasing, please.
Really? Oh.
Not on T-Bone.
Ah.
Fault?
It just came out.
It's a lot to keep track of here, man. It's tough.
Defending every blade of grass. Do you love that? Okay, put that on the poll too, Guillermo, please. Do you love that? Defending every blade of grass.
It's great. It's such a macho mindset.
It is.
It's just perfect.
But it's
for football.
ridiculous.
It's a Grudenism, man. That's what I mean.
Yes or no, every team in the league wanted Tyrod Taylor as their quarterback last night because of how he looked against the Seattle defense. That Seattle defense doesn't look like what you're used to that Seattle defense looking like.
No, it doesn't. I like that guy, though, Tyrod Taylor. I feel like he's pretty good every single week. Someone's going to win a Super Bowl with Tyrod Taylor.
Oof.
I'm telling you.
Oof. Put that on the poll.
Yeah,
is someone going to win a Super Bowl with Tyrod Taylor?
He just like
I mean,
he was like the Rocketeer of that logic ladder. He looked good last night. That's a good defense. Super Bowl.
That's it. You just saw that. You just saw it, Stugotz. You know those Planet Earth? You know the Planet Earth where they film a flower blooming over
Fast.
several months,
Yes.
but they show it to you in 15 seconds. Like it blooms in 15 seconds. You just saw the Stugatz at maximum fertilization. That's it. That's just how he looked good last night. Super Bowl champion. And if we didn't stop him, he would have gone right to better than Brady. Like he would have ended up there if we didn't just tap the brakes on it.
Hall of Fame.
Yes, he would have ended up in Canton.
Somebody's gonna win a Super Bowl with Tyrod Taylor.
I mean, the guy can ball, man.
He doesn't make many mistakes.
He's got 10 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He can move around in the pocket.
It's not like he has a lot of talent around him either.
He's gotten better. But slow down, man.
I don't think anyone's won a playoff game with him yet.
Super Bowl. He's
Hasn't made the playoffs
He hasn't
yet.
been to the playoffs.
He's not going to make it this year, it doesn't look like.
I mean, it's amazing what you just did there.
Well, he's also pretty good without his leading receiver, Sammy Watkins, which, enhances whatever you think of him.
Okay, but let's just slow down.
Worst quarterbacks have won Super Bowls. Let's be honest.
What does that mean?
What's that supposed to mean?
Let's be honest. I love the things that Stugatz chooses to be honest
come on.
about. Yes, Stugatz, we can be honest about that. Worst quarterbacks have won the Super Bowl. What does that mean?
It means that he can win a Super Bowl.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
No, that's not what you said, though. You said that he's going to carry someone to a Super Bowl.
Someone's going to win a Super Bowl with Tyrod Taylor. I don't know who the coach is. I don't think it's going to be Rex, but eventually a coach and an organization is going to win a Super Bowl.
Rex isn't going to last this season. Like, what are you talking? Rex? You don't think it's going to be Rex? Way to be out on that limb. Guillermo, put in some form at Le Batard Show on Twitter. Is someone going to win a Super Bowl with Tyrod Taylor?
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. In November, Progressive will give away over 100 vehicles to veterans in need as part of its Keys to Progress program, giving thanks for the freedom they've given us. To learn more, go to progressive.com/Keys to Progress. The Dan Le Batard Show is brought to you by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Call 800-QUICKEN or go to QuickenLoans.com. Today, here's your SportsCenter update. Week 9, the NFL concluded last night. Seahawks over the Bills, 31-25. Russell Wilson, 289 yards, 2 touchdowns, ran for another. Seattle improves to 5-2-1. Bills fall to 4-5. NBA, Warriors over the Pelicans, 116-106. Steph Curry, incredible. 46 points and an NBA record, 13 three-pointers. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
It is Dan and Stu from the Clevelander in South Beach on ESPN Radio.
Dan Le Batard.
Am I holding Cody back? Because we get this all the time. When Cody's on Kornheiser's show, when he's outside the lines, when he's on Mike and Mike, he gets a lot of response. Wait a minute. You are a journalist. You're good at this.
Stugatz.
Well, I think of myself as a professional chameleon. If I'm in a blue room, I turn blue. If I'm in a Technicolor room, I look like the Jeff Gordon logo. If Kornheiser wants to ask me a really serious question, I'm going to answer in kind. If I'm on with somebody who wants to yuck it up, I'm going to put on a party hat. You know what I'm saying?
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugatz on ESPN Radio.
Catch me and Mike Golick Jr. every Sunday for weekend observations from 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Greg Cody, giving the Straight Talk, is brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, half the cost.
Make sure to get out and vote today. Last chance to do that, so make sure that you end up doing that at some point today.
Some breaking news on Tyrod Taylor. He's already won a Super Bowl. Told you.
So somebody has already won a Super Bowl with Tyrod Taylor as their backup quarterback. We forgot about that. Greg Cody of the Miami Herald in with us today. He's got a Back in My Day for you. 15 minutes from now, Back in My Day is going to make an appearance early in the show.
Nice.
He's got a Soup of the Day for you. People really like your Soup of the Day.
This is a good one, too.
It's a weird segment.
Very.
Awesome.
And you love doing it. I think it's your favorite thing to do in all of your professional career. Name something you enjoy doing more than the Soup of the Day segment.
Probably Lobo's updates, Bitter Mickey, back in my day.
So everything.
Everything.
Okay,
yeah.
very good.
I mean, we really cater to Greg Cody on Tuesday.
We really do.
But especially a Lobo's update, particularly after a big win. Not that I want to talk about that.
You got a Bitter Mickey for us right now?
What? You want me to go to it right now?
All right, hold on.
We have around.
Do we have imaging for the Bitter Mickey?
Hold on a second.
No, we don't have any imaging.
Hey, we were going to a Lobos update.
No, I don't want to ever do that again. I'd be happy
man,
if we
that's too
if we never did
But he
that
said
again.
it might have been a big win.
How about if I do? How about if Mickey Mouse gives us a Lobo update?
Oh, I like that idea.
I could go the rest of my life without getting another update on your fantasy team.
It is time now for a weekly update on our favorite team, Rex Lobos.
Yeah.
Here is their head coach and president of football operations, Greg Cody.
Well. How about those Lobos? I'll tell you one thing. The Lobos kicked the rank of Commissioner Sarah Spain 137-96. The Lobos are now 6-3 and tied for first place in the radio show league. Mel Gordon, 36 points. Wow. Mel Gordon is running up the rail toward MVL honors. I'll tell you that. Drew Brees, Money in the Bank, had another 25. Allen Robinson with 21 points. I'll tell you what, the Lobos are firing on all cylinders right now, and once again, you can sum everything up in 3 words.
Randy Scott stinks.
That too. We are the Lobos.
Peaking at the right time.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I don't understand why you guys like that segment so much.
I mean,
I am just at a total loss. I don't think there's anything in our show, anything, where my sensibilities don't align less with something than how much you guys enjoy that.
I mean, I love Cody, and people love fantasy, and they're interested in Greg's team and the radio show league. I mean,
Yeah, of course.
yeah, it's,
Guillermo, put it up on the poll, please, because I've said before, there's nothing less interesting than someone else's fantasy team, although maybe someone else's baby. But someone else's fantasy team, not interesting.
I think so.
So, at Le Batard Show, is Dan the only one who doesn't like the Lobos update? Yes or no?
well, Greg, are you interested in anyone else's fantasy team?
No, he's totally self-involved.
Well,
Like he's
of
the
course
king
I
of
am.
he's the king of myopia.
Well, I'm in first place.
No, he asked you, are you interested in anyone? Look, that just proves my point.
Right.
Yeah.
You just asked him,
Yeah.
are you interested in anyone else's fantasy team? And his response was, yes, I'm in first place. Like he's just thinking about hit. That was perfect. Perfect.
And by the way, Commissioner Sarah Spain
Still
should
talking about it.
suspend herself. She should suspend herself because she started a player on a bye week this past weekend. I would have kicked her behind anyway because I won by like 140 points.
Right.
But starting somebody on a bye week, she should
You
suspend
see
herself.
what he's doing? We just
Yes,
asked
yes.
him, is he interested in anyone else's fantasy team? And he's just continuing to talk about his own fantasy
Right.
team.
Oh, I'll keep going. I tell you what, Mel Gordon
Oh, shut up!
probably is the
Just
comeback
shut up!
player of the year in fantasy sports.
God.
That is a World Series hangover going on there for Sarah. Totally,
No
right?
doubt. Yeah, it is. It is a. I don't know if she should suspend herself. That is pretty bad. Like Mike, you played an injured guy this week. I think Jeremy Macklin. I beat you.
Got injured at the once
Okay.
again. Sorry.
Guys,
So that's acceptable.
Nobody finds this interesting.
Right.
I mean, just stop, dear God. It's just the height of self-involvement.
The nation is pulling for Greg to win this league.
Yeah, it's tough. I tell you what, it's tough to win in this league. When you go 6-3 and you're tied for first place, and by the way, it's like a 5-way tie for first, but the Greg's Lobos do own the tiebreaker. So right now I'm seated first. And
Let me ask you this question, Stugatz. Last night's actual real football game that was played,
Yes.
it was not a fantasy. It was actually something that happened in reality.
Mm-hmm.
There was a bad call or a bad non-call in that game. They botched the end of the first half. The refereeing was abysmal. Dean Blandino came out afterward, got off of Jay Glazer's bus with Jerry Jones, and came out afterward and said that they blew the call. Are we at the point where it is simply impossible to officiate these games well? Now, keep in mind, last night was egregious, but given the microscope on these games, given that we have all of the technology and all of these replays where all of us are getting a better view than the people who are in the middle of 300-pound fast people blurring by to collide with each other.
Right.
Is it possible that you're going to get a week that's controversy-free?
No. Impossible.
It's an impossible job to do, is it not, Greg?
It's certainly an impossible job to do, and the guys who are doing it, this isn't their full-time jobs. That makes it more difficult.
No, but even if it were, though, like, I really don't feel like people use that one all the time if it were their full-time jobs.
I'm not saying it would ever be perfect, Dan, because it wouldn't be. The game moves too fast. The guys are too big and strong. I'm just saying it would improve it slightly.
I don't know.
Like to think.
I don't know that it would. I hear everyone say that, but I'm not sure how that's helping you in the middle of the collisions. Like, you could be more prepared, but I just think all of that stuff is moving too fast, and too many guys are trying to get away with stuff.
Right.
Too many guys out there are moving too fast, all of them trying for you not to notice the things that they're doing illegally.
But what made last night frustrating, I think, Greg, was some of that stuff was just basic. It wasn't guys moving
correct.
too fast.
Last night's not a good
stuff.
example,
right.
but I'm just talking in general.
Penalties are up. There's not as much flow to a game. I think that's one of many, many reasons why NFL TV ratings are down, particularly on the 3 primetime nights. But so often they call penalties that don't even seem to be there. I mean, how many times have you seen a holding flag and then they show the replay of the hold and you're like, wow, that was a hold? Why'd they have to call that?
Right.
You know, I mean, it's one thing to call the obvious pass interference or the illegal, dangerous hit, but when you're calling a holding call that's totally marginal, why bother? Don't do it.
They're down a little bit from last year penalties, but it's the second highest total in the last decade.
No,
in the
but
NFL.
I just feel like what you're watching on Sundays and Mondays, that the refs could call holding on every play.
Agreed.
What I'm saying is that there's just too much happening out there, and it's happening too fast. And if you're emotional about it and you've got a vested interest in it, you're going to see all the things that are working against your team that the officiating isn't catching. And I just don't know how you do that job in a way that pleases a lot of people, given that even if you do your job 95% of the time well, we're going to keep noticing the 5% of the time that you're not. So your only option is to do it well 100% of the time, which I think is it's an impossibility.
It's not an option. Yes.
Because of the microscope on this stuff.
Yes.
And so last night's not a good example, but I really do. It's not a job I would want because I don't think it's a job. People only notice it when you're not doing it well, and there's no way to do it in a way that you're always doing it well.
If the players are getting bigger, stronger, faster, is it too much to ask that the referees get faster?
I know, but what I'm saying, I hear that one all the time. Make them full time. You've tried harder at reading.
Yes.
And how's that worked out for us? I don't.
Fair point.
I don't think that preparation has anything to do with it. That they could be working 80 hours a week on the job, and those 3 hours are still going too fast.
I'm saying they could get younger. So they're not standing over a football with 4 seconds left on the play clock.
I'm not saying full-time would ever make it perfect. I'm just saying it would make it better. Naturally, Dan, if you're sitting there and you're thinking about the class you got to teach or the trial that you have,
I don't think that's happening during the game.
You don't think something suffers when you have more than one job? And you don't think you don't think their mind wanders to their other jobs that perhaps pay them more than being an NFL official?
Right. Put that up on the poll, Guillermo. Are referees thinking about their other job while officiating games at Le Batard Show?
It shouldn't be that difficult.
Wow, that was a bad segment.
It's an important decision before you leave the house in the morning. I'm talking about selecting your underwear. Don't start your day wearing the wrong pair. Wear Tommy John and feel the most comfort you've ever had down there.
Yep, we love it here on the show. Tommy John combines patented, breathable fabrics with innovative design to hold everything together softly yet securely, and it never rides up. Plus, it's backed by the best pair you'll ever wear or its free guarantee. Tommy John, no adjustment needed. Save 20% on your first order with code Miami at TommyJohn.com. That's Miami. Do it right now for 20% off at TommyJohn.com. PenzoilSynthetics.com.
Greg Cody's Back in My Day next.
Oye, this is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugatz on ESPN Radio. Dan Le Batard.
Devontae, I wanted to congratulate you for the great season you had, and obviously the highlight of that had to be named the MVL, the most valuable Lobo.
God.
And I'm curious, where were you when you first heard that you'd won, and what did that mean to you exactly?
When I heard of what now?
Stugatz.
Devontae, the name of his fantasy football team is Greg's Lobos.
Greg, that's your contribution? Honestly, asking him... I mean,
To be honest, I don't know nothing about fantasy.
That explains why he didn't attend our...
shut up!
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugatz on ESPN Radio.
Suavemente, bésame, que quiero sentir tus labios besándome otra vez. Suavemente, bésame.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. The Dan Le Batard Show is brought to you by Pennzoil Synthetics, taking synthetic motor oil performance to a whole new level. Make the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics today. Guest on the Dan Le Batard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Here's your SportsCenter update. Week 9 of the NFL concluded last night. Seahawks over the Bills, 31-25. Russell Wilson, 289 yards, 2 touchdowns, ran for another. Seattle improves to 5-2-1. Bills fall to 4-5. NBA Warriors over the Pelicans, 116-106. Steph Curry, amazing, 46 points, an NBA record, 13 threes. And finally, a cell phone video of a venomous green viper slithering above passenger seats on an airplane has gone viral. The snake was wrapped in a blanket, and the plane immediately landed in Mexico City. Pennzoil Synthetics with Pure Plus technology makes this the time for performance. College football is about protecting your turf. When it comes to protection, you can count on Pennzoil. Give your car the protection it deserves with Pennzoil Synthetics. Visit Pennzoil.com and make the switch today. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to the SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
A flawless read by Stugatz. We never notice when it's flawless.
Thank you.
We never notice when it's flawless.
It's rare.
We only notice when it's not flawless, hence the referee's job. You have the referee's type of job. We only notice you when you fail. Remind me at some point, please, to talk, speaking of snakes, about that video that Planet Earth released yesterday.
Wow.
That was just totally hypnotizing. A baby iguana running away from so many snakes in a place that I never want to visit. Because I had no idea that there was any place on Earth that had this many attacking snakes just waiting for a baby iguana to scamper through.
That iguana could scoot.
And the snakes were working in concert, apparently.
They were very smart
Right?
snakes.
They were like surrounding and coming in at all angles. It was crazy.
You want a reminder here? You don't want to talk about it now. You
Well,
want a
we got
reminder 'cause I'm writing it down.
we got to get to Back in My Day. Cody said he's got the gnawing feeling that he's already done this subject before. It's his 74th Back in My Day, and he feels like this is a rerun. He's not sure.
I can't remember them all, man.
He's running out of material. We will find out together whether he's done this before or not.
And now, it is time to take a trip down memory lane. Here's your guy, Greg Cody, with Back in My Day.
Today, America elects a new president, so I thought it appropriate to talk about something important, something that matters. Bowling! I walked into a bowling alley the other day for the first time in years, and it was like some futuristic time warp. No wonder bowling is dying on the vine, its popularity plummeting more than 30% from its mid-'80s heyday. I mean, the cost is ridiculous for one thing. Isn't this activity supposed to have blue-collar appeal? 2 others and I bowled 3 games. We were in there barely over an hour. It cost me $70. I found myself buying large pitchers of beer, which is a better deal, just to try to recoup some of my losses. I could buy Dorothy's original ruby slippers cheaper than they charged me to rent bowling shoes. But it's more than the cost. I walked into this bowling alley in the middle of the day and was stunned to find it cave dark but pulsing with strobe lights and ear-numbing music. I mean, what are we doing? I'm trying to marshal my concentration to pick up a damn 3-5 spare, and I have to wait while a conga line serpentines in front of me. Heaven help the guy who needs one strike for a perfect 300 game as a string of firecrackers goes off in the middle of his backswing while a woman in a Carmen Miranda hat somersaults on the next lane. Also, back in my day, you kept your own score. That was half the fun. And it was a good math lesson for the kids, too, because scorekeeping in bowling can be a mild challenge until mastered. Now, though, the score is kept for you electronically, which ruins the hands-on element of the game.
You gotta be kidding me.
And also blatantly denies you your God-given right to cheat. You want your popularity back, bowling? How about you try to be about the damn bowling again? A sport once grounded in etiquette. A sport once quiet but for the soft roll of a ball on wood followed by the plasticky clatter of pins. Quit dishonoring the game. You aren't a nightclub. You aren't a frat party. You're a place where Ralph Cramden and Norton meet the fellas from the Raccoon Lodge. I'm Greg Cody, and that's how it was back in my day.
Yeah. You have not done that before.
No, it was great.
So there used to be a time where people kept their own bowling scores?
Oh, yes.
I cannot remember that time. I have not been alive during that time.
I'm with you. It was a much better time, yeah.
Much better time.
Yeah. Scoring card, pencil, it was great.
Yeah.
And as Greg pointed out, you could cheat.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Miss those days.
Stugatz has spent the last 15 minutes looking up the second occupations of NFL referees. What have you found for us?
I mean, Gene Steratore, who's been an NFL official since 2003, is the co-owner of a janitor supply company in Washington, Pennsylvania. You're telling me that Gene's not sitting there because it's a natural thing, and I'm guessing that job pays him more than officiating does, that he's not sitting there on a Sunday during a play and his mind wanders to whether or not he's made payroll or not?
What other jobs have you found there? Didn't you find some NFL official was a dairy farmer?
Yeah, that's Walt Coleman. He is a dairy farmer and operator of Coleman Dairy in Little Rock. I mean, they distribute more than 1 million gallons of milk a week. I'm pretty certain that at times during an NFL game, he is wondering to himself, is the distribution getting done? Do we need to create more milk? How much money is this thing making? Do I need to hire a new GM? I mean, these guys, they're not just working, Dan. These are entrepreneurial guys who own their own companies.
Mm-hmm. So far, everybody looks like their own occupation, too, which is great.
Anyone else there have a funny occupation that you noticed? Because you had Ed Hockley thinking about some big mediation that he has in Asia next month.
He's a civil litigator at a Phoenix law firm. And I'm guessing he gets paid a lot of money to do that, more than he gets paid to be an NFL official. And if his mind is on his opening statements the next day, I mean, would you blame him?
How many Washingtons are there? Did you guys know that there was a Washington, Pennsylvania? I didn't know there was a Washington. Put that up on the poll, Guillermo. Did you know there was a Washington, Pennsylvania? All right, a lot to talk about. We'll get to it in a second.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugatz from South Beach on ESPN Radio.
Ferguson, the right people, the right products, right around the corner. Visit Ferguson.com to...
Dan Le Batard.
Baby.
Stugatz.
Don't ever do that again, please.
Baby.
Okay.
Every segment, please.
No.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugatz on ESPN Radio.
Guest on the Dan Le Batard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Get in touch with the show anytime through the 1-800-Flowers Twitter feed at Le Batard Show, at Stugatz790, at Greg Cody. Trying to make up for another weekend spent in your football lair. Remind your loved one you still exist with a 1-800-Flowers bouquet of 36 autumn roses, just $36. An incredible deal. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. Hurry. Offer ends this Friday.
Do we need to change the word lair there for you? Because it feels like it's a confidence sucker for you.
Did I say it wrong?
No, but it just feels like you're scared around it.
I'm scared around words. But no, Lair is fine. I'm cool with Lair. It's the one right after that. Remind your loved one you still exist. I don't know, for some reason, so I'm thinking about that as I approach Lair. And I don't know what it is about that sentence. It just doesn't work for me. But I don't think we have the liberty to change the copy here.
Well, that's an interesting thing with corporate sponsors. Did you see what happened with the Chicago White Sox Stadium and their naming rights, where there's some company, a lender, I think, and they've got a downward arrow as part of their emblem, and the White Sox don't want to put a downward emblem on their stadium. And the company is like, we're paying $2 million. Here are a couple of upward emblems at the middle of our hands that you can have if you want to take our $2 million. And they're like, we're putting a downward emblem on your stadium. And they're like, okay. $2 million seems like very little to get.
Correct.
In the context of what we're talking about. If you're the Chicago White Sox, how hurting are you for money that you can't get $2 million anywhere else, that you have to settle for the downward emblem and have to cave when the sponsor says there's going to be a downward emblem on your stadium, period?
You are playing in the same city as the Cubs, so I mean, maybe they are desperate, Maybe a lot of money going towards that organization and not the White Sox.
That's not much for naming rights, though.
Doesn't seem like it.
I mean, now, if you're a big franchise, you're getting, what, $15, $17 million a year?
It seems like, rights. I mean, the money's going down on that stuff. People are realizing, or corporations are realizing, that there's not value in that. Texter writes in, there's a Washington in every state, you bleepity bleep. Is that right?
I would believe that. It's such a common word.
Mike found 88 Washingtons on the internet.
Yeah, different types that had Washington in the name. I'm on Wikipedia right now, and they have like municipalities and inhabited areas. And I found 25 places just straight up named Washington.
But is that a thing? Did we actually did we make it so that every state in the union has a Washington in it? Because that's the first I'm hearing of it, if it's so.
I can't imagine there's a Washington. I think Washington would be the only state that would not have a Washington. Am I right?
I'm guessing you're right. I'm checking out other stadium naming rights in Major League Baseball. Citi Field, which is where the Mets play, $400 million, that deal. Now, over many, many years, but it's still $400 million.
I've lived in Florida my entire life. I've never heard of a Washington, Florida, but there is a Washington County in Florida. So,
well, let's figure out if that's a thing, that indeed there is a Washington in every state. And I'm guessing, put this on the poll. Let's assume for the moment that it is, Guillermo. Did you know that there was a Washington in every state? Because this guy's calling me a dumb bleepity bleep, and I don't believe that deserves dumb bleepity bleep status. Getting back to this Planet Earth video. Planet Earth 2 is coming out. I maintain that Planet Earth is the greatest thing in the history of television, not named Bobby Le Batard. Greatest thing in the history of television. And they're coming out with a sequel, and I can't wait. And they dropped an album yesterday. Planet Earth put out a video, and it's riveting. Have you seen it, Cody?
I have, yes. Very disconcerting. The first time I assumed the worst. I assumed it would be a bad ending. Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
But,
I saw you tweet it out, and I watched it. I watched it 3 separate times, and it's mesmerizing. It really is.
Well, here's the backstory for those of you who don't know. You can get it. It's all over the internet. It's gone viral. It's an iguana in some sort of sandy land where there are an enormous number of snakes waiting to eat this iguana, a baby iguana, and the baby iguana is a funny, panicked runner, fearing for its life, cute, filled with terror, and it keeps running away from more and more snakes that are appearing. It knows that the snake's eyesight is generally bad. When it stays still, the snake does not notice it, but then it starts scampering, and all the snakes notice it. And now you've got, some people have put it to the NFL's anthem music. You've got him scampering. You can picture Chris Berman yelling, whoop, whoop, but it's life and death. And those snakes are defending every grain of sand. And it's terrifying. And it gets in the grips of one of the snakes. They're not venomous snakes. They can squeeze you to death, however. Right. Gets in the grip, but then gets away. It's a totally insane video. But we were talking about this with Amin the other day. Amin roots for the snake in that circumstance. Well, are you, Cody, when you watch these videos?
I mean, I'm absolutely rooting for the iguana. The snakes are the bullies in that equation. Like, Cody, you watch that and you're rooting, like, where you
I'm rooting for the iguana because the snakes totally outnumber the situation. There's like 15 of them.
It's Dan, Stu, and Greg Cody on ESPN Radio.
College football lives here. North Carolina sits in first in the ACC Coastal and have their sights set on defending their title.
Across the 45, 50, 40, 35, dives to the cone, touchdown, 80-yard run, wow.
Up next, they head to Durham to face their fiercest rival, Duke. Coverage begins Thursday at 6:30 Eastern on ESPN Radio. Presented by Dr. Pepper. College football lives here. It's a huge showdown in the Pac-12 Saturday night. USC, winners of 5 straight, heads to Seattle to face undefeated Washington.
20, 10, touchdown USC. 72 yards, the big play strike.
The Huskies are desperate to prove themselves, and a win against USC will do just that. Coverage begins at 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. The North Carolina Tar Heels head to Durham to face their fiercest rivals, the Duke Blue Devils.
Touchdown!
Coverage begins Thursday at 6:30 Eastern on ESPN Radio. Presented by Dr. Pepper.